Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode. So, we are going to talk all about content creation today. So, one way of how I see perfectionism show up when people are trying to create content is in the form of not good enough. So, they will try to create a piece of content and it will be like, oh my gosh, it's not good enough, right? So, it can look like you never really hit publish because you're trying to make something perfect, trying to do the best in it, and then you think that is not good enough. And so maybe you keep on tweaking the website and then never really let it go live, or you are starting out and creating a podcast and you're recording the podcast again and again and again because you think it's not good enough, or you say it doesn't make sense, you have to re-record it. Or it might look like you sitting down and trying to write something, a post or an email, and then it's just not right. And then so you end up like scrapping it completely and never hitting send. It looks like, and I know that for many of you, it's going to feel very true that, it's just not good enough. There is just, I need to provide, I need to have more layout here. I need to speak more distinctly here. I need to provide more examples here. I want the content to have more value here. It has to be more valuable, more useful. Okay, I get it. And what I want to offer is that those are all just some forms of feeling not good enough and trying to be perfect. Okay, like that's just all different ways of how our brain try to come up with reasons for us to not hit send, and for us to not actually put ourselves out there and to be able to share more in the form of in a mask of trying to be good enough and thinking that it's not good enough and they're trying to be perfect, right? And and this is why we also procrastinate on our content and procrastinate on putting ourselves out there and creating content and putting our content out there. Procrastination is not the problem. It's not because you procrastinate. It's just the result, right? It's an effect of the tendency to be perfect and the tendency to try to strive for the best in what you do, which is not a bad way, right? It's not a bad thing. But we just want to get to the cause of it. We just want to get to like a root cause of it. And it's never procrastination. Procrastination is just a result of it, right? So then you might be like, okay, what's the actual cause? Well, number one, it can be simply because you're just doing something that is you're not as familiar with. It's just not as familiar. You haven't, maybe because you are starting out your podcast for the first time, or you haven't built up the habit of being able to send emails weekly or every few days, so that it's a habit and a muscle that you are building up, right? So number one, it can simply just because it's unfamiliar. The second thing is there is like a lot of deeper fears that's happening that's actually causing you to try to be perfect and causing you to think that this is not good enough. It can be the fear of being judged, right? The fear of what will other people think about me, or what will so and so from high school think about me. When in fact, those people, they don't really like, they're not actually that important to you in your life. And yet, it's interesting how when we think about putting ourselves out there, like all of the thoughts about what will so and so think about me, it just all comes up, right? There's the fear of being judged and the fear of other people having opinions about you that might where they might see you more in a negative light, or they might think, who are you to do this, and things like that, right? There's also the fear of being completely yourself. And what do I mean by this? When we are afraid of like, okay, if I take away all the quote unquote professionalism and the edits, and when I just show the most raw and the most truthful version of me, there's this fear of like, people are not going to like me when I'm being my most honest, everyday, like ordinary, quote unquote, ordinary self. And there's like a very big fear about that, of like really showing your flaws, really letting people hear you in like a very unfiltered way, or read your words in like the way that you would speak it, right? There's a lot of fear around that. And so because a lot of people are actually afraid of being so fully completely themselves, what they do is they mask it with a sense of professionalism. So, okay, this piece of content, this episode that I just recorded, it doesn't have enough value. Let me go in and edit it some more. Let me try to add more examples here. Let me try to make an intro so much better. Let me edit the pacing, right? Or it's like, okay, this piece of content is not good enough. Let me go in, change the words a little bit. Let me make the graphic more compelling. Let me change the colors. Let me change the font. They just kind of like tweaking all the edits and the packaging of it so that you can seem like you have quote unquote it all together and seem more professional in a specific way, right? When in fact, a lot of like this massing and like the addition of all the layers and all the packaging of it is so that you can stand behind this mask of letting yourself be so fully yourself. Does that make sense? I hope this makes sense, right? So actually underneath the tendency to be perfect and thinking is not good enough, underneath this, there's actually this fear of like being so completely yourself, and the fear of letting other people see you fully as you, right? And the fear of and the fear of like being judged when you're this way, or having other people critique you when you're being this way. So just know that this is what comes up a lot for a lot of people, and you're not alone, especially if you are really just starting out with content creation and really working on putting yourself out there, right? Now, it's good to really bring these things into awareness, because a lot of these, a lot of the times people just take this as it is, like, oh yeah, of course, it's just not good enough. I need to work better. But what I want to offer is that actually, this is your work in entrepreneurship. This is your work as a content creator, is to work on putting out content that is not quote unquote perfect. And so you might be like, okay, so how do I tackle this? I know this is my actual problem. How do I work on being less perfect and working on just being able to get to this place where I can just post more and I can just share myself in a more full and honest way, right? Here's what I want to offer. The fastest and the most direct way that you can tackle the tendency to be perfect is through action. Okay? You want to actually work on peeling off the layers of where you are trying to be perfect. And the most direct way that you can do it is through action. This looks like every time when you are recording a podcast, or you are writing that email, or you are writing that post, every time when you're writing it, and then when you're like finished with it, and then a thought comes up, right? This is about working on catching yourself when a thought comes up, telling you this is not good enough. Okay. Your brain might show it to you in a different form. So it might not tell you this is not good enough. It might tell you maybe it's like, I need to add more examples here, or I need to change the word here. Okay. Basically any way of how your brain creates those reasons for you not to hit send, right? Like your brain is going to show you in a form of this is not good enough. Whenever that thought comes up, what you want to do in that moment is to not believe it as like the truth of what is actually happening with your content. what you actually want to work on in that moment is to practice noticing that thought and then hit send anyway. Do you see the difference here? Whenever the thought comes up telling you this is not good enough, you practice hitting send anyway, even when you know that there's something that needs to be changed. You still hit send anyway. This is how you can practice peeling off the layers of trying to be perfect in your contents. Is moments when you think it's not good enough, you still hit send. Now, I know this is going to be hard for a lot of people because we all try to be the best at what we do, right? We're all ambitious. We all are high achieving. We all want to try to create the best quality of everything in what we do. And we want to put in the best in what we got. And a lot of people are like, but quality is very important. I really want to focus on that. Okay. In the world of content creation, and in the world of social media and where you are a content creator, you're just consistently creating and there's always content being put out into the world, like every single day, every single moment. This is what I want to offer when it comes to content creation and when it comes to working on increasing your quality is this. Okay, this is a quote. Okay, like get out your notebook, prepare to write this down, prepare to like memorize it into your brain. Okay. Quantity creates quality. Let me say that again. Quantity creates quality. It's not focusing on one thing or the other, right? It's not like, okay, do I want to focus on quantity or do I want to focus on quality? Is actually you will create quality content when you focus on quantity and when you just focus on putting your work out there and creating lots and lots of pieces of work out there, right? Perfectionism is what keeps so many artists stuck. And it's what keeps so many authors and like content creators stuck, right? Is that we work on that one piece of content and we really, really want to make it big and we want to make it amazing. We want to make it the most it can be. When in fact, maybe your work right now is to actually focus on quantity. And as you become more used to publishing a lot and creating a lot and just working on creating a lot and a lot over time and just sharing over time, your quality does improve, right? Like amazing artist, a famous artist is created through thousands of artwork because they have practiced thousands, like they have literally painted so many artwork and created so many artwork in their lifetime. And then eventually like their quality becomes really, really amazing, right? Like over time, through years and years of just creating and just putting their work out there. Authors, so many authors, like it's not a quote unquote overnight success. They actually already have written so many books beforehand. And then it just happens that like slowly, like people discover them over time. But they have actually written so many books, right? And so perhaps your work right now is not working on making one episode the most I can be. Perhaps your work right now is not making one piece of email or one piece of content really, really amazing. Maybe your work right now is working on the muscle of being able to just post, the muscle of being able to let go of perfectionism, perfectionistic tendency. Whenever the thought comes up that okay, I need to change it here, more work needs to be done, this is not good enough. Notice those thoughts and hit send anyway. 10 pieces of B plus content is always going to be better than one piece of A plus 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 content. 10 pieces of B plus content is going to help and serve so many more people than one piece of A plus plus content. And also, a lot of you are skilled at what you do. A lot of you are experts in what you do. What feels like a B plus or B minus content is going to be A plus plus for your audience. This is what I found a lot with like a lot of high achieving, ambitious content creators is that they're like, this is not good enough. But actually what you think is not good enough, it's like amazing for your audience, for your fans, for the people who look at your work. They're like, oh my gosh, it's so good. Yes, what you said is so right. Even though it's going to feel quote unquote not good enough for you, right? This is what you want to always keep in mind is that you are helping your people and your people are learning from you. What you think is basic, what you think is ordinary, what you think is okay, it's okay, it's all right. A lot of people are going to think it's amazing, right? Because who you are is already amazing. You don't need to try. You don't need to try to be quote unquote professional. You don't need to try to be make it like perfect in what you do, because you don't need to be perfect. Like who you are is going to seem quote unquote perfect and amazing and the best and like so amazing, right? Like for a lot of people, even when there's grammar mistakes, even when the pacing sounds weird, even when you missed talking about this point this way in one episode, right? Like those all don't matter, right? Really hear me out on this. And so your work is on creating lots of B plus content. When you feel like your episode is starting to get to like A plus plus level, or when you feel like your email or your YouTube video is, you're like editing it in a way where it's starting to get and become A plus plus, I want you to tone that down. Okay? Like I want you to actually work on toning that down and just hit publish when it's B plus. Like when it's A plus plus, and I know that because of our education system, right? A lot of us are very used to creating work that's stellar. That's the best at what you do. And actually it's gonna go against everything that you've learned, everything that you've been taught about how you should perform and how you should create content, especially when it comes to content creation, where quality or quantity literally creates your quality. You want to tone that down a little bit and work on just creating lots of B minus and B plus contents, and work on creating 100 pieces of them. Work on creating 1,000 pieces of them. Like that is your work. Okay. So sit with this, sit with all of this, and think about really where your work is right now and what is the thing that always come up when you are about to hit publish. Notice it, right? We don't have to buy into the truth of it. You can notice it comes out. Notice what drama your brain tells you that that is not good enough to hit send. It's not good enough to hit publish yet, but then you still do that anyway. I guarantee you, over time, when you can do it, do that, practice that exercise often, it is going to change your life. It is going to change your tendency of trying to be perfect in everything that you do. It is going to just help you peel off the layers and help you just be able to show up more honestly and more rawly as yourself, with your mistakes, with your flaws, with who you are at all. And that's okay, right? Because who you are is enough. You're already enough without trying. And you can have mistakes. You can be with mistakes, and you can be imperfect, and you can be messy, and you can show up that way, and your people are still going to love you. They're still going to hear from you. They're still going to think you're amazing regardless. Okay, sit with this and let yourself be imperfect this week. Okay, I will talk to you very soon. Bye.